the July 23rd ZOAC meeting. It's 9:10 a.m. We're going to call the meeting to order. I believe Ms. May will take roll, correct?
Chair Housewright.
Here.
Vice Chair Blair. Here. Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Mr. Bering. He's online. There he is. Okay. Can you mic check just in case? Make sure we can hear you. We can't hear you still. No. Let's skip to Mr. Reeves and see if we can hear from Mr. Reeves or if it's our stuff.
I'm here. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Okay, I think it's just your microphone, Mr. Bering. But we can come back to that. And then we have Mr. McGregor. Oh, he's not here yet. And Commissioner Rubin.
Here.
Oh, and Mr. Cardin. Did I? There he is. Sorry. Here. I was going alphabetically and somehow I jumped over. I think it was Bering. Okay, yes. Mr. Cardin is also here. Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll call the meeting to order. We have one item to discuss today, DCA 223-003. I believe we need to read this into the record and then have a staff briefing. Is that correct? Thank you.
And do we want to do the minutes real quick? I know.
You know, I always forget that.
I know. And it's because I rearranged it.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of my favorite things.
Yeah. But we could take it later.
Okay, let's do the minutes. We just have one set this time or two? One set. Okay. Any comment on the minutes, motions, etc.? Got a motion, Commissioner Blair. A second, Commissioner Rubin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Minutes approved.
Good morning. My name is Michael Wade, Senior Planner at the Planning and Development now. Today we'll be talking about Zoning Code Amendment, Commercial Motor Vehicles Code Amendment, DCA 223003, consideration of amending Chapters 51 and 51A, the Dallas Development Code, regarding the definition of oversized motor vehicles and oversized trailers. Over this. This is going to be a relatively bare bones presentation, background analysis, proposal, and then we can discuss it. This is really not a policy level discussion. This is about making sure that the zoning code is working how it needs to. This is just tweaking and refining, but generally we're not looking at changing city policy. So, you know, there are a lot of big ticket items on everyone's minds right now. This is really just zooming in on our development code as a tool and making sure that it's working well. We'll be talking about weights a little bit today. I'm actually just showing you this chart to make you angry about weights. Weights are baffling us and annoying us. We have several staff here today from code compliance. I think we also have from Department of Transportation and other planning and development staff today. Just in general, we'll be talking about weight regulations and that they are causing some issues. This began in the winter of 2022. Code compliance presented to a committee of the City Council about difficulty enforcing the weight maximum on vehicles parked in front driveways as regulated in section 4.217B6 accessory outside storage. So first overall note about this is that we don't regulate vehicles parked in the front driveway as parking. It's accessory outside storage on the level of Little Free Library or other things that are plunked out there. Generally, the issues that were brought up, a motor vehicle over 32 feet long or 1.5 tons that is 3,000 pounds of carrying capacity, that's not the vehicle weight, it's just the load that it can carry, may not be parked in a primary yard. And that's in addition to a couple of other regulations about having a valid state registration and the surface that it needs to be parked on. Carrying capacity is tough. It's difficult to ascertain for code compliance officers out in the field. It's not displayed outside the vehicle. It's on a plate that's inside usually locked vehicles. It's not corresponding with vehicle model names like it used to be. So names like F-150, Silverado 1500, et cetera, those labels used to mean something and they don't anymore. It's inconsistently reported by manufacturers. So when a code compliance officer has to dig into the research, they can't always find what it is. And so for all of these reasons, it's not verifiable by a code compliance officer on the spot. Is this really the best regulation to achieve what we're trying to achieve with this regulation? And then on top of that, the truck market today, vehicles in general, but especially pickup trucks, are getting larger for use just as personal or non-commercial vehicles. And so this is sort of bringing this to the fore. We do see big rigs parked in front yards. This is illegal now. It's going to stay illegal. This is not we're not trying to permit this, but it does happen. This is really the point of the regulation, to keep extremely inappropriate vehicles like this out of residential areas especially, but out of primary yards in general. We'll talk about what a primary yard is. Many of us, most of us, drive vehicles on this scale, however. These are permitted. These are kind of two sides of the spectrum. Even those couple of huge pickup trucks on the right, those are, or vehicles those sizes are generally used for personal in addition to commercial purposes, and the city really has no interest in regulating those out of the reasonable use of someone's property. So this brings an existential question for a lot of Texans: how big is too big? At a certain point, we just have to make a decision. And where this falls in that, I really don't know, but these vehicles do exist, and they're really the eighth wonder of the world, I think. So as we're thinking about this, what is the point of this regulation? This is sort of an amalgamation after talking to staff across departments and consulting the development code. We're trying to protect the reasonable enjoyment of residential areas by prohibiting vehicles that are introducing major nuisances. We're also trying to delineate clearly which vehicles are intended to be served by certain other land uses. So we have some land uses that are very specifically intended for smaller vehicles, and then others that are intended for larger, more intense vehicles. What we're not trying to do with this regulation: prohibit all vehicles used for commercial purposes. So Joe down the street has a small plumbing shop, Bob in this example, and he has a small vehicle with a logo on the side. We have no interest in regulating that out of a neighborhood. And just in general, we're not trying to keep residents from a reasonable use of their properties. We're not looking at changing our policies around RV or boat storage at this time. Again, this is just looking at how we're regulating this, what metric we're using, and whether it's the right one. Generally speaking, this regulation is not the regulation that addresses the weight of vehicles on roads, on city streets. We've got chapter 28 that talks about parking and driving, bless you, on city streets. It addresses truck routes, it addresses public infrastructure, and we have staff on the line who can speak to that if we want to go in that direction for the discussion today. But this regulation is just about what's appropriate in a primary yard. Generally speaking, this is a very general graphic. There are a lot of these online. The point is just that there are some vehicles that there's broad consensus are fine in a front yard. There are many vehicles that there's broad consensus are clearly inappropriate, but then there's a middle range where it gets murky, and really finding an appropriate metric to use to regulate that was the focus of this study. We're also talking about the primary yard. This is the only regulation where the term primary yard is defined as a term, and if you read ahead, you see we kind of dismantle that. Just it's a useful term if we want to use it for something else, and so we try to streamline our proposal, and that includes kind of taking this extra element out of it. But so a primary yard is not just the required front yard, but it's any of the space between a building and the street and between lot lines. So quick summary of the analysis. We looked at different levels of regulations. Generally, those apply to certain highways, certain roads. We looked at the chapters in the code that address this. 51A is the scope of today's code amendment. 28 generally addresses the public right-of-way. We looked at peer cities, broadly vehicle specifications and uses, and had a good amount of very productive conversation between departments. Just to zoom in on Chapter 51A quickly today, it does a few things with weights and sizes. It uses those in a few ways. One is, again, accessory outside storage governs what you can park in your primary yard. So again, if you have a driveway within that area between the building and the street and the side lot lines, that's regulated by this, not by any kind of parking regulation. Vehicles over 32 feet long or 1.5 tons in rated capacity, not in vehicle weight, not in gross combined weight rating, anything else are prohibited. So these are some examples. That F-250, not allowed. Silverado, not allowed, too heavy. And then this Fleetwood Southwind is just an example of a vehicle that's 32 feet long to get a sense of that. And I'll be showing a lot of examples through this presentation. Another way, Chapter 51 uses dimensions and weight, or just weight. It limits land uses to serving vehicles under 6,000 pounds or 15 passengers, and that includes the driver. And it says the weight of each vehicle. So we have to make some inferences. Again, remember that chart at the very beginning, there are 1,000 different ways to measure the weight of a vehicle. This just says the weight of each vehicle. And so for these land uses, auto service center, commercial parking lot or garage, vehicle display sales and service, that measurement of 6,000 pounds is the cap, the dividing line. And so again, that's Silverado 2500, an Escalade, but it's the 2025 Escalade ESV four-wheel drive. There are other models that dip below that 6,000 measurement. And so dealing for our code amendment or our code compliance officers, they walk up and they have to ascertain exactly the build. A Bentley, 5,919 pounds as soon as you sit in it, illegal. And then this, depending on it, as soon as an adult sits in it. And then this is a 15-passenger van. I know several of my close friends and family used these growing up. Typical residential vehicle, except look how heavy it is, 6,074 pounds, illegal. And then 3, limits land uses to serving larger commercial motor vehicles. And so these are commercial motor vehicle parking and liquefied natural gas fueling station. These are intended for larger vehicles. These land uses do have this definition of commercial motor vehicle embedded in them. That is, commercial motor vehicle means a motor vehicle that is designed or used for the transportation of cargo, has a gross weight, registered weight, or gross weight rating in excess of 26,000 pounds, and is not owned or operated by a governmental entity. So again, for reference, 26,000 pounds is a truck that's pulling a full dump trailer, a trailer pulling machinery, that kind of a thing, very big. And then just briefly dipping into Chapter 28 again, today we're not looking at amending Chapter 28, that's out of our scope, but it does give some clues about how we can think about the size and purpose of vehicle regulations. They have a definition of commercial vehicle, which is any vehicle that displays a valid commercial truck or truck tractor state license plate. Our Department of Transportation has told us this is irrelevant. The state's discontinued this license plate, doesn't really indicate anything. And so actually following this code amendment, the Department of Transportation is looking to amend section or Chapter 28 in general. In Chapter 28, commercial vehicles are prohibited from parking, stopping, standing on public right-of-way. Separately, vehicles with capacity of more than 1.5 tons are prohibited from parking, stopping, standing along any residential block face. Vehicles with an actual load of 5,000 pounds, so this is the load, not the weight of the vehicle, are prohibited from crossing certain bridges or traveling on roads other than truck routes or state or federal highways. And then vehicles having a gross weight in excess of 6,000 pounds or a vehicle having an overall length in excess of 21 feet or any trailer are prohibited from parking in the Dallas Convention Center or City Hall parking garage. So these sort of break down more minutely characteristics of vehicles and what they should and shouldn't be permitted to do. Again, the problem with weight, there's a great variety of custom builds of a lot of these trucks, and we're going to pick on pickup trucks a little bit today just because they exist in that space. Final weight, and remember that chart, the variety of final weights aren't displayed. For example, and I thought this is pretty astounding, the F-150 XL, which is just one type of F-150, has over 4 million possible build-outs. And that's not just paint color, that's the size of the bed, size of the cab, engine components, etc. So for instance, an F-150 can be heavier than an F-250. It's not clear. Weight really is more relevant for Chapter 28 and how it impacts our roads than it is for this regulation on Chapter 51A. So we'll jump into the proposal briefly and then turn to discussion. Our proposal is to replace the variety of lists of characteristics that we've talked about in Chapter 51A with a new clear term and definition using easily ascertainable characteristics. So we're proposing the term oversized motor vehicle with the characteristics more than 22 feet long, more than 8 feet wide, more than 9 feet high. And these were selected again after reviewing regulations from other cities, from federal and state codes, as an appropriate size that accommodates current personal vehicle preferences. It's also a vehicle with 2 or more rear axles, which clearly indicate heavy commercial use. And then finally, a vehicle that's designed to transport more than 15 passengers, a bus. We're also proposing the term oversized trailer, which has the same dimensions, 22 feet long, 8 feet wide, 9 feet high, but is just non-motorized. This is staff's mock-up of the size compared to an 18-wheeler. An 18-wheeler, just for all of our education, it's kind of weighing between 40, 60, 80,000 pounds. We're working in the realm of 6,000 pounds, so this is a massive scale difference. To be able to try to picture the box that we're proposing, this green box, these are some vehicles that sort of approach the size. So that's an F-350 or F-450 Super Duty. About 20 feet, you can get up to 22 feet, width of 8 feet, and then a height of about 7 feet. Ford F-550 can actually exceed 22 feet depending on the build out, width of 6 feet, height of about 7 feet. And then this Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 15-passenger van, specifically the high roof version, has a length of 22 feet and a height of about 9 feet. This is kind of the only sort of vehicle that could be used for that seemed useful for personal uses, just carting your family around, that even approached 9 feet. And so generally when you get back to the level of trailers, you're talking about 13, 14 feet or more. And then just additional elements, we're talking about implementing the oversized motor vehicle and oversized trailer terms to relevant land uses that we discussed earlier. And it's just an attempt to streamline land use provisions, have one sort of bedrock defining line. We want to restructure a little bit, and again, this is just clarity. Right now we're working with exceptions of exceptions in the code. It's tough for staff to learn. It's tough for residents and workers and visitors in Dallas to understand. And then updating relevant land uses to reflect kind of practical use allowances and staff interpretations that have been in practice. And so really it's just bolting on a couple of amendments that reflect interpretations we've been making in practice for years already. Just a note, the commercial motor vehicle parking land use, even though it has the term, it's keeping that label. This is just a label for the land use. This label applies to the intent of this land use. It still fits and is appropriate. And so the amendment that we've made, if you looked ahead, is that the commercial motor vehicle parking is a facility for oversized motor vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, we are happy to open it up to discussion. And just a reminder that Chapter 28 amendments that apply sort of to the appropriateness of certain vehicles on certain roads should be following from Department of Transportation at some point. Again, we have code compliance staff here in the room today, and I believe I want to look at the virtual guest list, but I think we have Department of Transportation staff as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have discussion, questions? Mr. Carden.
Yes, could you pull back up the definition for a truck stop? If you had that in the presentation.
Yes, let me see if I have it in this presentation. I'll grab that for you. I think I have it as a extra slide. Let me find that. It's not in this presentation, but I'll find that and bring it up for you.
Okay. And the question in relation to it was just, I think I'm trying to pull it up on my end as well, but the definition was a facility for the use that for the, fueling or recharging of basically oversized motor vehicles. And at least as I read it, it seems like that's, if it's solely for that, or if it's only for oversized motor vehicles, like if you have something where, say, a QT can fuel a Texan-sized monster truck, does that make it now a truck stop? If you have something that can accommodate, for example, box trucks, but not 18-wheelers, but is primarily used for, passenger vehicles, does that make it a truck stop? Or 15-passenger van, for example, does that make it a truck stop? Just understanding that definition a little bit.
Yes. The general answer to the intent of your question is yes. Let me read it in. I'm working on someone else's computer today and having trouble bringing it up right away. Definition of a truck stop. I think it's in chapter page 7. Thank you. So a facility, this is 4.210 B 30.1 truck stop. Truck stop means a facility for the retail sale of motor vehicle fuel dispensed from pumps to commercial motor vehicles. And then we also have the definition of commercial motor vehicle. And our proposal is to simply define truck stop as a facility for the retail sale of motor vehicle fuel dispensed from pumps or electric vehicle charging stations to oversized motor vehicles. And so you're asking about replacing that with the dimensional characteristics.
Or maybe even just saying, and I guess it creates some other ambiguity, like primarily for oversized vehicles, right? Because a QT is not primarily for oversized vehicles, but it can service some, a 7-Eleven even. But for example, Love's truck stop obviously is primarily for oversized motor vehicles.
Sure. And I might turn to Sarah for the fine-tuned interpretation. Yeah.
Yes, so they created that truck stop use, I think, in like the early 2000s. And what building inspection did was they would classify, since it was a new use, anything that was meant to serve, the larger vehicles like your truck, tractors, and trailers, it was just an additional use. Because even if we look at like your regular 7-Eleven gas station, it's actually two main uses. It's a motor vehicle fueling station and a retail general merchandise or food store use. So like like a Love's truck center might have 3 main uses. There might be motor vehicle, truck stop, and the general merchandise or food store. Yes, so it would be 3 main uses in that Love's truck stop or other big truck stop that's geared towards truckers. So, and it's because it's specifically defined.
That's it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rubin.
A follow-up on the truck stop piece, and this may be getting a little nitpicky, but I don't know if the EV charging piece is necessarily fully, it may need a little bit of massaging. So we talk about first a facility for this retail sale of motor vehicle fuel dispenser pumps. That makes sense. That's what's essentially always been in there. But when we talk about a facility for electric vehicle charging stations to oversized motor vehicles, are we capturing too much there? I think it's some sort of commercial use of EV charging stations. So, if you had a warehouse and you had EV trucks and had charging on those, we wouldn't want that to be considered a truck stop. I don't think, would we?
I think in the past we did want to capture, whether it's gas run or powered or electrical, I think we would, because you would have, these large vehicles in and out of that land use. So
Okay.
I don't know, I think I'm feel comfortable with considering EV freight trucks as
Okay.
part of a truck
Okay.
truck stop and commercial motor vehicle parking,
Okay.
type use.
And then we talk about retail sale of motor vehicle fuel. There's not a similar descriptor for it. It just says electric vehicle charging stations. Full stop. Is it a facility for electrical vehicle charging stations for oversized motor vehicles? I'm just trying to figure out.
I think that's the intent.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe just a little bit of massaging between now and CPC would be helpful there. One other super quick question on definition of oversized motor vehicle under 104.1B. It says a vehicle with 2 or more rear axles, such as trucks, truck tractors, etc. What's a rear axle? And should we just say 3 or more axles overall? Would that be so we're not?
I think that would approach the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We can dig more into where the axles are if you like.
I mean, I'm not a car or truck expert by any means, so I don't know if there's I don't know if there are any vehicles with 2+ front axles. I would think that would make it pretty hard to use the vehicle, but it may just be easier to count up to 3 axles overall in the vehicle. But anyway,
I think the idea is that if it's really being used for intense commercial purposes, then it's going to be carrying a load to the rear of the vehicle, and that's where the extra axles will be.
Other questions? Commissioner Blair.
Primary yard. If you have a residential house that is on a corner lot, it could have a side yard that could be seen from the front. I do believe when I read this, it excluded rear yards, but you focused in on primary yards. So if I have a corner lot and I put my cab in that corner spot, would that still be considered a primary yard? Or I don't know if we need to better define and primary yard.
So you're talking about on a corner lot, you of course have streets on 2 sides, sort of the typical front, but then also on what might otherwise be considered a side. And the vehicle is parked on that side street, sort of in between that and the building. That has been counting as primary yard. So even though in our proposal we're taking out that term primary yard, the purpose is to manage the parking of these vehicles between any street and the building. And so including if it's on a side, functionally a side of the building.
So would it be better to define it so that, or to explain it so that it is clear, not for this body today, but for the body 5 years from now, what is really defined as a primary yard and how to prohibit this type of parking in the primary yard, especially when it's a corner lot?
I think we can look at clarifying that this applies to corner lots. A lot of the verbiage in 4.217 is, exceptions of exceptions. It gets ridiculous. In there is a legally defensible prohibition in that area, but we can look at clarifying that this applies to corner lots. Absolutely.
When you had examples of trailers, there are business owners that construct, i.e. construction, and they have a motor vehicle truck like a F-150, Silverado, 250, whatever, and they can disassociate that trailer from the truck and still park that trailer, even though it may be not classified as appropriate based on the definitions I saw. closer to the garage where you may not be able to appreciate the sight of it, but it could be a prohibited item for residential. How can we better refine that?
So our proposed amendment does prohibit, again, it sounds like you're proposing a situation where it's longer than the maximum length or higher or wider, something like that. You can hide it. I'm going to ask Jeremy Reed of Code Compliance to come up because it sounds like you're describing something that, you can come over here, describing a situation where technically it does violate the law, but they're trying a workaround. And so we'll ask compliance to speak to that.
Good morning. Jeremy Reed, Assistant Director for Code Compliance. I missed the first half of the question. Would you mind restating? I'm sorry.
In their definition of trailer, they specifically prohibit some types of trailers, but they're not, they can be wider or longer, but something that can be hidden you park, how we see it in some areas of my community where it's hidden because it's in the side yard, tall fence, but it's prohibited from going down those streets. How do we better define that, or how would you better handle that, or make it easier for code to handle that type of occurrence based on how it's defined today? And first of all, let me say to code, my condolences to the loss of Dr. Robinson. She was a great asset that did a lot for code and for the city. So let me first say my condolences to you and your staff.
Thank you very much for that last comment. She was a friend as well, so we appreciate it. I might need a little more clarity on the intent of what we would try to achieve by that, but I would just point out the scope and location of these amendments is related to outside storage in the fronts of properties. So on the side yard note a moment ago, corner lots, basically this amendment is prohibiting storage that's not always allowed, made of things that are made of material resistant to damage and or customarily used outside. It's prohibiting all other storage, not given exceptions, in any space between the house and the street, whether that's a front yard or whether that might be considered a side yard. So the question of the trailer being behind a fence, that's really out of scope for this discussion, because if it's behind the fence, then this is not prohibiting it. This is only related to storage in that front yard. Storage in residential communities in the rear yard, this does not address at all.
So should it?
I think that if we do start to go beyond where the primary yard currently is, I think that we need to do a lot more research, and it would kind of open up the scope of this amendment a little bit bigger than we were hoping. But we can go there if that's what ZOAC wants us to go down.
No, not necessarily, but I do see the delineation from front yard, side yard, and rear yard may need to be defined, and to put parameters around how you can and cannot park it. Because I do know that our residents are extremely creative, and in their creativity, they can make us scratch our heads more than we want to scratch them. So I'm just trying to say, do we ask the question, when you look at trailers and side yards and primary yards, do we need to just, if maybe if we better define primary yard and primary side yards, because you can have a primary yard and you have two primaries. So if we define primary yard, whether it's one or two primaries, maybe that will satisfy and the delineation of how you can better support that.
I think we're happy to clarify that. I think this is one of those code amendments where sort of examples are very helpful. And so definitely have looked at code compliance for examples of how to apply this well. And if you have any examples of a way that a vehicle's been stored in a primary yard that makes it nebulous or helps them sort of get around the rules, I think we're open to examples moving forward.
Well, I'm sure I can go to an area of my community and find you some, but I'm not looking forward to that.
We won't give you that homework, yeah.
Then the last thing is, you said that we're going to keep the weight classifications in chapter 28,
Right, this does not amend chapter 28 in any way.
but in chapter 51, we're just using sizes, heights, and as a
Correct.
definition.
Yep.
My question is, do we need to refer to chapter 28 when it comes down to defining these items based on the characteristics that are identified in chapter 28? So do we need to tie the two chapters together?
No, we definitely looked at that and we found really no benefit from that at all.
I'm done.
All right. Other questions? Do we see anything online? Mr. Baring, Mr. Reeves? No? Okay. Well, I'll take a turn. I was intrigued with Mr. Cardin's question. Was it just basically, are there unintended consequences here? Was that really the thrust of the question? Okay. And was the answer satisfactory to you?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Okay. Okay. So my one question regards how the issue came up, and as I read in the materials that were sent to us, and then in the presentation again this morning from Mr. Wade, this was brought to light evidently by code compliance in a presentation to a council committee, and you said code compliance is with us today. My question is, do they support the draft language? I assume that they do.
They do. We've received that in email. I'm receiving a vigorous nodding of the head from an assistant director over there. Yes.
All right. Thank you. That was.
And I can concur that there are members here from code that I've had to deal extensively with in this definition and how to support the compliance and non-compliance of housing and use of these, how this applies in reality.
Okay, great. Real world experience with it. All right, I have no further questions, and I see no other questions this morning. So it would lead me to believe there might be a motion out there somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Can I make the motion?
Yes.
I move that in the matter of DCA 223-003, that we close this public hearing with the changes that have been requested and regarding the definition of primary yards. And what was that, fueling station, what was that definition of,
Regarding which preposition was about the electric vehicle?
yes,
charging?
yes.
Yeah, we can work on that.
And with those changes, move it to CPC.
Okay, I'm looking for a second. Mr. Cardin seconded that motion. Thank you, Mr. Cardin. Is everyone clear on the motion? Yes, Ms. May.
Thank you. Okay, so just wanted to maybe have some more clarification on the direction of the clarifications on primary yard. Just to review the purpose of the amendments, So the term primary yard, so yard is a very special term in the development code, which is defined as a setback. So the way the code currently has primary yard defined within this accessory use kind of minces the term of a setback as a place in front of a facade, which is not what a setback is. A setback is a defined dimension and depth. And it also says primary. So it's currently a little unclear in the code right now. Well, first of all, we're trying to liberate the term primary yard because that could be a very useful term in like regulating facades or, things that are allowed to be in a front yard. There's a lot of like great urban design principles that like to use the word primary yard. But so far, we're kind of prohibited from using it because it's locked up in this definition. And so we're attempting to free the term primary yard from being relegated to accessory outside storage. So that, so we were hoping to not define primary yard here. We were trying to instead just take what the term was intending to be, which is the area between the facade and the street, and just leave the definition of what it was using as primary yard in this code.
Commissioner, if I understand what you're saying, you're not saying that we have to use those words primary yard, but just better identify in the case of a corner lot where these vehicles can and cannot be placed. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Do we have a preference? Because when we were talking about this also, Michael and I were discussing, like, I was under the impression that primary yard would mean more prominent yard. Like I was thinking more prominent, like, so if it had two, that it would be the most prominent. But I think there was some differences in opinion. Do we have an opinion from ZOAC on if we're talking about all areas between because what's proposed is basically all areas between the facade and the street, or if you want it to be more of a prominent front yard?
A corner lot can have two prominent front yards, side yards, primary yards, whatever you want to call it. And because of that, it would be hard, in my opinion, and what I have seen, for code to regulate which one is primary and which one is not. My question and my request to better define that is to better support code's opportunity to be consistent with the way that they monitor where a oversized vehicle can and cannot be parked, yet still allow the flexibility or that you're saying that you want to have. I just think that to better support code, we need to better define a corner lot, because then I can also see every corner lot, you would be inundated with this type of parking if you don't on one side that you can still see as a primary.
So just make it clear that it's all streets. All streets. Gotcha. We can do that.
Okay, sounds like we hammered out an understanding here. Would it be wise to reread the motion?
So I move to close the public hearing in the matter of DCA 223003, to close the public hearing, and with the following correct updates. To better describe a primary yard that is sitting on a corner lot. Okay, is that sufficient enough?
Yes.
Is that sufficient enough? Okay.
Into,
In the
into
motion.
motion. All right. Well,
Oh, wait a minute. And the item that was described by
Mr. Carden,
Mr. Carden, when it comes down to
Truck stops.
truck stops.
Let me ask for clarification. Was there a change that you were suggesting, or just were you needing more information?
I was looking for more clarification on the definition of a truck stop with this new language
Okay, within the code amendment.
within
not-
the code amendment.
Okay, yes, very good.
I think he's looking for a little bit of wordsmithing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
okay, and Mr. Carden, you're still comfortable with your second?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we've got the motion, and we've got it seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, none opposed. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Wade, thank you for the education on trucks. I learned more about trucks than I ever imagined I would learn.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I can't wait to use that information at yeah.
I have a
yeah.
whole store of example images of ridiculous automobiles right now. I can send you.
Okay, that would be great. I don't believe we have any other business this morning, Ms. May, is that correct? Okay, so we stand adjourned at 9:57 a.m. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you.